Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how we love to go deep around here. And well, today we're diving into something pretty juicy.
Oh yeah, this is a good one.
A lost chapter from a dating advice book called The Happiest Man in Hollywood.
Interesting title.
It is right. This chapter is all about mastering the art of attractive conversation, specifically for men looking to, spark that romantic connection.
So like a secret playbook for making conversations irresistible.
Exactly. Like imagine you're prepping for a first date, or maybe you just want to add some sizzle to your current relationship.
Yeah, spice things up a bit.
Well, this deep dive is going to give you some seriously valuable insights straight from this expert.
Can't wait to hear this.
I'm telling you, some of this stuff is pretty counterintuitive. Like, get this. The book says showering a woman with compliments early on can actually backfire.
Whoa. Really? That's not what you usually hear.
I know, right? Let's bring in our expert to break this down.
So the idea here is that early compliments, especially if they're focused on looks, can come across as insincere.
Like you're trying too hard?
Exactly. Instead, the book suggests focusing on building a light, playful rapport.
So like a fun back and forth banter.
Yeah, and get this, being comfortable with a little silence.
Oh, that's a good one. Silence can be powerful.
Right. It shows confidence and allows a genuine connection to develop.
Plus, it creates a little mystery. It's not just talking a mile a minute.
Exactly. The book also says there are certain topics to avoid on those early dates. Things that can kill the mood.
Like what? Give us the dirt.
Okay, so things like politics, religion, anything too serious or heavy. You want to keep it light and fun.
I see. So instead of, what are your views on the current political climate?
Right. Steer clear of that.
It's more like, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Now you're talking. Keep it playful and engaging.
Okay, so we're setting the stage with lighthearted banter, comfortable silences, and steering clear of those conversation killers.
Now the book gets even more interesting. It introduces what it calls the 3 modes of attractive conversation.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. Lay it on us. What are these 3 modes?
The first one is playfully challenging conversation. Think of it as verbal sparring, playful teasing to spark that initial attraction.
Oh, I like this already. It's like a little game you're playing.
Exactly. It's about engaging her mind, making her laugh, and keeping her on her toes.
I've always found that a bit of playful back and forth is so much more stimulating than just sticking to surface-level chit-chat.
Totally. It injects energy into the conversation. But, and this is important, there's a fine line between playful challenges and straight-up insults.
Right, you don't want to cross that line.
Never. It's about challenging her in a way that's fun and flirtatious, not hurtful or disrespectful.
So it's all about that delivery, that twinkle in your eye that lets her know you're just messing around.
Precisely. Okay, so the book gives some pretty bold examples of these playful challenges. Like imagine saying something like, I know you're attracted to me, but your staring is making me uncomfortable. Tone it down, please.
Oh, that's a bold one. I can see how that could create some playful tension.
Right, it's all about the delivery. Imagine saying that with a playful smirk, not a condescending tone.
Got it. It's like you're playfully pushing her away while simultaneously drawing her in.
Exactly, you're creating that push and pull dynamic. The book also talks about using cold reading as a playful challenge technique.
Cold reading? Like what psychics do?
Kind of. It's about making playful guesses about her personality or interests.
So like, you strike me as someone who loves to travel. Or, let me guess, you're secretly a brilliant chef.
Yes. It's a fun way to inject a little mystery and intrigue. And it gets her talking about herself.
It's way more interesting than just firing off a list of boring get-to-know-you questions.
Absolutely. Now, whether your guess is right or wrong, it doesn't really matter. It sparks curiosity and encourages her to reveal more about herself.
I love it. So you've thrown out a playful challenge. She responds. Now what?
The book emphasizes the importance of giving her some approval after she responds.
So like a little validation.
Exactly. It shows you're enjoying the interaction and that you appreciate her wit or her spirit.
Okay, so you've teased her a bit, hopefully gotten a few laughs. What happens if she throws a playful challenge back at you? How do you handle that?
Great question. The book gives a few strategies. One is to agree and exaggerate. So if she playfully accuses you of being a player, you might say, totally. My trophy shelf is overflowing.
Haha, I love that. It's disarming and shows you don't take yourself too seriously.
Right. Another option is to just ignore her challenge completely and smoothly change the subject.
Ah, the silent treatment classic.
It can be effective. It's like saying, your words can't faze me. And then there's a more advanced technique, which is to respond to any challenge as if it were a compliment.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
So let's say she says, "You're such a nerd." You could reply with, "Ah, you noticed."
Haha. I can see how that would take some confidence to pull off.
It does. But it shows a strong sense of self and that you're not easily rattled.
Okay, so the key takeaway with this playfully challenging conversation is to create a dynamic, engaging interaction.
Exactly. It's not just about what you say, but how you say it.
It's that energy, that confidence, that playful vibe that creates the attraction.
You got it. Now, are you ready to dive into the next mode of conversation?
Absolutely. Hit me with it.
Before we jump into the next mode, the book brings up this interesting concept called qualification.
Qualification. Okay, I'm all ears. What's that all about?
So it's basically a way of showing genuine interest in a woman that goes beyond just, her physical appearance.
I like that I've definitely been guilty of focusing too much on looks early on. So how does this qualification thing work?
It's about acknowledging something she's done or said.
Yeah.
Something that reveals her character or her values. Like, you seem like someone who really values kindness.
Instead of, wow, you have beautiful eyes.
Right, exactly. You're letting her know you see her as more than just a pretty face.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So it's not about showering her with generic flattery. It's about recognizing something specific about her that genuinely impresses you. But isn't that still technically a compliment?
It's subtle, but it's important. Qualification is about acknowledging something she's done or said, not just her appearance. And here's the key. The book says qualification should always be followed up by either a playful challenge or a rapport-building question.
Ah, I see. So you're keeping her engaged, keeping that conversation flowing.
Exactly. You're creating that dynamic back and forth. So, for example, you could say, "You seem really adventurous. What's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?"
Ooh, I love that question. It's playful, but it also encourages her to open up and share a part of herself.
Exactly. You're showing her that you're genuinely interested in getting to know her, and you're subtly revealing something about yourself, too.
Like, hey, I value adventurous people.
Exactly. Okay, so we've playfully challenged her, we've qualified her. Now we're ready to move into the next mode of conversation, connecting conversation.
Connecting conversation. This is where things start to get deep.
Right? Kind of. It's where the focus shifts to building a deeper emotional connection. But the book still emphasizes keeping things light and enjoyable.
Right? No therapy sessions on a first date. So how do we encourage her to open up without getting too heavy too fast?
It's all about asking open-ended questions that invite her to share her experiences, her thoughts, her feelings. Instead of asking, "Do you like to travel?" which can be answered with a simple yes or no.
Right.
You might ask, "What's the most amazing place you've ever traveled to, and what made it so special?"
I see what you mean. It encourages her to really tell a story.
Yes, and active listening is key here. Really listen to what she's saying. Ask follow-up questions. Show her you're genuinely interested.
Sometimes I catch myself thinking about what I'm going to say next instead of really listening, so that's a good reminder.
It happens to the best of us. And when it's your turn to share, keep your stories short, interesting, and emotionally engaging.
Focus on how you felt, not just the facts and details.
Exactly. Emotions are what create connection. In connecting conversation, you want her to be doing most of the talking.
Okay, so it's more about listening than talking in this mode.
Yes. Make her feel heard and understood. But don't forget to sprinkle in those playful challenges from time to time.
Just keep things interesting.
Exactly. You're constantly recalibrating, finding that sweet spot between building connection and keeping things exciting.
Playfully challenging qualification connecting conversation. We're on a roll. There's one more mode to go right.
Yes. The final mode is seductive conversation.
That sounds intriguing.
But before we get into that, I think it's important to talk about another technique from the book, tension-building spikes.
Tension-building spikes. Okay, now I'm really curious. What are those?
So these are playful, suggestive comments designed to, subtly raise the temperature a bit.
Like testing the waters before diving in?
Exactly. It's about creating anticipation and excitement without making her feel pressured.
Got it. So what are some examples of these tension-building spikes?
Okay, so imagine saying something like, "I can't even tell you what I'm thinking about doing to you right now." Or, "If you keep looking at me like that, I'm going to have to kiss you."
Whoa, those are definitely heating things up. Yeah. But I can see how it's all about the delivery.
Absolutely. You want to say those things with a playful, suggestive tone, not in a way that feels aggressive or creepy.
Right, like you're both in on the joke.
Exactly. And the great thing about these tension-building spikes is you can use them at any stage of a relationship.
So, on a first date, to create some anticipation for that goodnight kiss or years into a relationship to keep the spark alive.
Precisely. But remember, a little goes a long way.
Don't want to overdo it.
Right. Okay, so we've covered playful challenges, qualification, connecting conversation, and tension-building spikes. Now are you ready for seductive conversation?
Bring it on. Tell me everything. Okay, lay it on me. What's the secret to this seductive conversation?
Well, it's less about specific topics and more about, like, the overall vibe.
Okay, listening.
It's about how you talk, the physical connection you create. Think like slowing down your speech.
Oh, yeah, making your voice all deep and sultry.
Exactly. Layering your voice. Increasing physical contact.
Well, hold on now.
I mean, non-sexual contact,
Yeah.
of course. Like a light touch on the arm, lingering eye contact.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Using more suggestive body language.
So it's about creating that atmosphere of intimacy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But remember, this mode should only happen when there's clear mutual attraction and comfort.
Right, you don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely. It's about letting that intimacy unfold naturally, forcing anything.
This whole 3 modes of conversation thing is pretty brilliant. It's like a roadmap for navigating the different stages of attraction.
Yeah, it is. You start with the playful banter, then you build that deeper connection, and finally, if the moment's right, you transition into this more, sensual, intimate space.
It's about creating a journey, not just rushing to the destination.
Well said.
And that's what makes it so powerful, right? It's not about tricks or manipulation. It's about authentically connecting with someone.
Exactly. But all of these techniques we've talked about, they take practice.
Oh, for sure. You're not going to be a master conversationalist overnight.
Right. So don't get discouraged if you don't nail it perfectly the first time.
What would you say is the most important takeaway from all this?
For me, it's about being present and adaptable. It's not about memorizing lines. It's about reading her cues, paying attention to that energy between you.
Yeah, like being in tune with the flow of the conversation.
Right. And adjusting your approach based on, what's happening in the moment.
It's been such an insightful deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much.
I'm glad. And this isn't just about romantic relationships.
Oh, that's a good point.
These principles can apply to any interaction where you want to build rapport and connection.
Whether you're on a date, networking at an event, or just chatting with a friend.
Exactly.
So folks, pay attention to those conversational dynamics. See if you can spot these techniques in action.
You might be surprised by how much you already do without even realizing it.
And for those of you who are ready to level up your conversation game.
Remember, a well-placed, playful challenge or a thoughtful question can completely change the tone of a conversation.
Go out there, experiment, have fun, and see what kind of sparks you can ignite.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, happy conversing.